Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic called values. In fact, we're going to talk about the difference between values and valuables. I will repeat that. Today we're going to talk about the difference between values and valuables. So let me ask you a question. How exactly would you like to define values? What, according to you, are values? I'm going to tell you. Values are basically a set of attributes that defines who you are. That basically tells what are you made up of, what is your soil, what is your substance, what defines you is known as a value system. For example, honesty is a value, integrity is a value, passion is a value, compassionate is a value, trust is a value, loyalty is a value, and there are tons and tons and tons more. What I'm trying to tell you here is these attributes basically define who you are. Let's say, for example, if I say that a particular student of mine is trustworthy, is that a value? Yes, of course, that's a big value. Let's say, for example, if I say a student of mine is compassionate, let's say if I say a student of mine has high levels of integrity. These are all definitive sets of values that defines each one of them. Let's say, for example, I meet a student of my class 5 years down the line and I do not recognize him or her because it's been quite a few years now. But all of a sudden, I recall something about that student and I call out to him or her and I say, "Are you not the student who used to come to the class on time?" Now you'll notice here very closely, in this case, I completely forgot about the student's face and identity, his class, or the section or the roll number. But what I did remember about the student was the fact that he was always on time. Now, in this case, a student is remembered or recalled by what is known as a value, which in this case is going to be punctuality. So punctuality is also a value. I'm sure you'll be able to make your own examples now. Interestingly, if you look at the corporates and the companies and the organizations, whether it's a school or a college or an institution or a corporate or even shops and large enterprises, all of them are governed by a definitive set of values. Now, if you go and Google each one of them and say core values of whatever organization you would like to look for, let's say, for example, you were to search for the core values of Microsoft or Google or Amazon or an Amity University or a Cambridge University or an Oxford University or a Walmart, will most certainly come across their set of values, which means they run their organizations, their institutions, their corporate houses, their emporiums, their shops on the basis of the values they choose to run their business or their organization on. This is called values. I want to share with you a very, very interesting story about how, on a specific given day, values won over valuables. I'm going to say that again. How a value system won over valuable. A fierce battle was fought between Ratan Tata and the then chairman cum managing director of Tata Group called Cyrus Mistry, who Mr. Tata himself had appointed. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with this organization called Tata Docomo. Now, Docomo was a Chinese telecommunication giant who decided to do business with the Tata House, I think about 6 to 10 years ago. I cannot exactly recall the time and the date or the year when they choose to do business with the Tata House, but they said that we want to get into a partnership kind of an agreement with the Tata Sons and run a joint business in the telecommunication sector, which was eventually later known as Tata Docomo, which was a split, which was in fact a joint venture between Docomo Enterprises and Tata Teleservices. Well, before they started the joint venture, there was an arrangement or an agreement that both the parties entered into, which was, if somehow in the later years, if the business was not doing great, Docomo could have chosen to withdraw from the joint venture and either the Tata House would buy out the 49% of the stake of Docomo, or they would look for a buyer who would buy the 49% stake of Tata Docomo. So this was a joint agreement between both the parties and both the parties had mutually agreed to this. So initially, after the business was set up, the company was doing extremely well. Tata Docomo was doing roaring business. However, over a period of time, the business started declining to the point that one day, the Docomo chairman and managing director came up to Cyrus Mistry and said, "Hey, look, you know what? We no longer want to continue with this business because it's not making any more profits." So Cyrus Mistry went back and said, "Okay, that's your choice. Go back if you want to, if you wish to." He said, "Hey, wait. But there was an agreement, there was an arrangement wherein if we ever decided to withdraw the business with the Tatas, you had promised either to buy back 49% of the stake, or you would have bought us a buyer. You would have given us a buyer who would have bought the 49% stake from this business. Now, you need to honor this contract." To which this contract was never honored. Years passed on, and the Tatas refused to pay this money. Eventually, Docomo had to go to the court. They filed a case at the lower court. They won the lawsuit there. The Tatas still refused to pay. They went to the High Court. They won the case there. The Tatas still refused to pay. They went to Supreme Court. There, they won the case. Again, the Tatas refused to pay. Eventually, they had to go to the International Court of Justice. That's where they won too. But again, the Tatas refused to pay. While this was happening, years were passing by, days were passing by. Mr. Ratan Tata was observing all this thing from his bungalow. One fine morning, he stepped into the office of Cyrus Mistry and called him over and said, "Cyrus, what's happening? Why aren't you paying these people?" He said, "It's going to be a huge amount of money, and the company is not making enough profits these days so that we need to pay up." But he said, "How about the agreement? You need to honor the agreement. You need to honor the contract." To which Cyrus Mistry said, "Well, I'm running the show now. You've retired. Why don't you go back to your bungalow and sit back and enjoy your hot cup of coffee in the evening?" Ratan Tata said, "No, I'm not going to agree to this." He said, "Well, there isn't much that you can do about this because I am in charge now." So Mr. Tata said, "Is this your last word?" He said, "Of course, this is my last word." On that following night, ladies and gentlemen, what had happened was Ratan Tata called for an emergency board meeting with all the board of directors. And the following morning, when Cyrus Mistry came to his work, he found a pink slip at his desk which said, "Thank you for serving the Tata Sons. Your services are no longer required." This is a piece of history I wanted to bring to you to illustrate the point how values are so important for the Tata Group. Now, this is not the end of the story. After this, Ratan Tata came out and made a very historic press conference. A historic press conference, which I have never forgotten in my life and I never will, and I wish to share this with you today. He said, Today is the victory of values over valuables." One more time. Today is the victory of values over valuables. He said, "How could I possibly have, over a few $1,000,000, let the goodwill, the reputation, the prestige, the honor of an organization which have been established over a period of close to 100 years go away just like that? I cannot let that happen. So if one day if I were to go bankrupt and if I have 10 rupees in my pocket and if I owe somebody some money, I will first pay that money to the person I owe, and after that I will decide whether I have any money for me to eat for the rest of my day." This is called a value system, which is why the Tatas are the only organization from the country which are known across the world. Is Mr. Ratan Tata the richest man? Is Tata the richest group in India? Well, no, the answer is no. But if you were to go out and check across the world, which is the only business enterprises that is best known across the world, in fact, in many places, it's the only enterprise which is known from India, it will always be the Tatas. Because they choose people, they choose community, they choose environment, they choose welfare before their business. And that's what the values and the principles that the Tata House is established on and is running, and it will continue to do so by the grace of God. I hope I've made myself very, very clear and you have understood the meaning of values. Now, if you really understood the meaning of values, why don't you write down in the comment section what are some of the values that defines you? And why also don't you write down about the values of some of your favorite brands? It could be any brand: electric, consumer durable, electronics, fashion wear, eyewear, anything that you care to write about. Do write to us. Thank you.